The life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a living lantern for every age. Whether you are facing hardship, building relationships, or simply seeking purpose, the Seerah holds a lesson made just for you. Begin every good thing with Bismillah. Before revelation, before migration, before any momentous act, the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught his community that every meaningful beginning belongs to Allah. The very first word revealed, Iqra, was immediately followed by the name of the Lord, read in the name of your Lord who created. This practice was then formalized, every chapter of the Qur'an opens with Bismillah. In daily life, the Prophet instructed us to say it before eating, before entering the home, before any action of substance. The lesson is beautifully practical, anchor your intention in Allah before you begin, and even an ordinary act becomes an act of worship. Honesty is a foundation, not an option. Long before prophethood, the people of Mecca called Muhammad al-Amin, the trustworthy. He had earned that title through years of honesty in trade, in speech and in conduct. Even his fiercest opponents never accused him of lying about worldly matters. When he stood on Mount Safa and asked the Quraysh, "Would you believe me if I told you an army was approaching from behind this hill?" they answered, "Yes, we have never known you to lie." His truthfulness was his most powerful argument. The takeaway for us: let your character speak before your words do. Integrity is built quietly, day by day, in small choices. Patience in hardship has a horizon. The years in Mecca were years of loss. The Prophet, peace be upon him, buried his wife Khadijah, his uncle Abu Talib, and several of his children, all before the Hijrah. He was mocked, boycotted and driven from his home. Yet Allah revealed, "So verily, with hardship comes ease." Verily, with hardship comes ease. The repetition in the verse is deliberate. Scholars note that the Arabic grammar means one hardship is paired with two eases. The Prophet modeled what that verse taught. He grieved honestly, turned consistently to Allah in prayer, and kept moving forward. Patience, the Seerah shows us, is not passivity. It is quiet, faithful perseverance. Consult others, even when you know best. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was receiving divine revelation, yet he consistently consulted his companions. Before the Battle of Badr, he repositioned the camp based on a companion's strategic advice. Before the Battle of Uhud, he followed the majority opinion of his companions, even when his own inclination differed, out of respect for their voice. Allah himself instructed him, and consult them in the matter. This was not weakness, it was wisdom. The lesson for leaders, parents, teachers and anyone in a position of authority is clear: consultation builds trust, surfaces better ideas and honors the people around you. Smile, it is an act of charity. Jarir ibn Abdullah, a companion, said, "The Prophet never saw me after I embraced Islam without smiling at me." This was not occasional courtesy, it was the Prophet's consistent character. He himself said, "Your smiling in the face of your brother is charity." In a world that often mistakes seriousness for spiritual depth, the Seerah reminds us that warmth and cheerfulness are acts of worship. The Prophet was known for his gentle humor, his kindness to children, and his ability to make every person he spoke with feel as though they were the most important person in the room. Joy can be a form of generosity. Serve the people closest to you first. When Aisha was asked about the Prophet's character at home, she said, "He used to serve his family, and when the time for prayer came, he would go out to pray. He mended his own sandals, sewed his own garments, and helped with household work. He was the greatest human being to walk this earth, and he swept his own floor." He said, "The best of you are those who are best to their families, and I am the best of you to my family." Our acts of worship in the masjid mean little if we are neglectful or harsh at home. The home is the first place to practice the Seerah. Show mercy to the natural world. A companion once took 2 eggs from a bird's nest as the mother circled overhead in distress. The Prophet, peace be upon him, saw this and said, "Who has distressed this bird regarding her young? Return them to her." He also said, "There is a reward for serving any living being." He forbade the branding of animals on the face and condemned those who made animals suffer needlessly. Mercy in the Sirah was not reserved for humans alone, it radiated outward to every living creature. The practical takeaway, how we treat animals, how we care for the earth, is a reflection of the mercy or its absence in our hearts. Never humiliate, even in correction. A Bedouin man once urinated in a corner of the masjid. The companions rushed to stop him, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, calmly said, "Let him be." He waited until the man was finished, then gently explained the sanctity of the masjid and asked for the area to be washed. The man later said that the Prophet's kindness in that moment was what won his heart to Islam. The lesson is deeply practical, how we correct matters almost as much as whether we correct. Humiliating someone in public closes hearts. Gentle, private, dignified correction, the prophetic way, opens them. Forgiveness is strength, not weakness. On the day Makkah was conquered, the greatest military and moral victory of early Islam, the Prophet, peace be upon him, stood before the very people who had tortured his companions, killed his loved ones and driven him from his home. He asked them, "What do you think I will do with you?" They said, "You are a noble brother and the son of a noble brother." He replied, "Go, you are free." This was not naivety. It was power exercised with mercy. He had every authority to act otherwise and chose not to. Forgiveness at that scale is a spiritual achievement that reshaped an entire civilization. Love for others what you love for yourself. In the final sermon at Arafah, the Prophet, peace be upon him, gathered the entire Muslim community and delivered words that still echo across centuries: "Hurt no one so that no one may hurt you." He had already taught, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself." The entire architecture of the Sirah leads here, to a community built on genuine mutual care, where your neighbor's dignity is as sacred as your own, where the poor are not invisible, where mercy is not abstract but practiced daily in small acts of selflessness. This is the heart of the prophetic legacy, love made real. Which of these lessons from the Sirah spoke most deeply to your heart today? Reflect on it, share it with someone you love, and if this touched you, subscribe so we can journey through knowledge together.